My name's Nick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be Randomfishes together, shall we? Now, some time ago, a series was made called Horrible Histories, and the people who made that would eventually go on to make other comedic films. All starring historical figures. This is their latest attempt to cash in on that popularity. BBC's Ghosts. Now, why do I say BBC's Ghosts? Because I have to be careful, because Ghosts is such a massive name across TV now and across film that you have to say where it came from, otherwise you are so stuffed. But this show is a rather brilliant show. It involves a married couple moving into a house that they've inherited, and it's discovered that a whole bunch of ghosts live there, played by the various actors and actresses who brought us Horrible Histories. Now, the reason why I bring Horrible Histories up in the first place is that it was a funny show that had a good, massive link between straight characters, straight actors, and comedy actors. Each one of these people within this group would play different straight actors and different comedic actors, but they were still gelled together because it was a comedy group, and it was a way of balancing things out. It's a little bit how Monty Python used to have to do these things, with, John Cleese and Graham Chapman sometimes having to mostly be the straight guys, but with comedic lines, and everyone else would just be like, "You're a loony," all the time. That's what Horrible Histories felt like to me for a long time. It felt very much like this idea of comedy meets straight acting with just, "You're a loony." "I'm not a loony," coming from that. Yes, I'm using Monty Python lines to describe these guys. I know. But in Ghosts, you have the likes of Matthew Baton, Lawrence Rickard, Simon Falaby, Jim Horrick, Martha Howe-Douglas, all of these great people, all this great talent that made this show funny doing this show. I've watched about 3 to 4 episodes of this show so far. I haven't watched all 6. I know some of you may not like that, but I kind of have to base my opinion based on the opening episodes of what I think of it. And my opinion, really, is it's funny, but it feels like it's forcing a lot of group humor. Again, Horrible Histories did a wonderful job of balancing themselves out. This doesn't feel like balance. This feels like the young couple that move in there are played. The main female character, Alison, is played by Charlotte Ritchie, who you may know from that Channel 4 show about all those students living together in that flat, or that film where she and the boy from Submarine played a folk music duo called Benny and Jolene. Yeah, that's right. I'm quoting random British films. That's going to be fun for me. But she's funny in this, but she's also the straight actor. She's the straight man in the comedy team. She and her husband. I've forgotten the name of the guy who plays him. If you do remember, please put it down in the comments. It's not right here on my laptop, so I can't openly tell you. I'm sorry. But it's funny because these two are really funny and they work well with each other, and they're a good straight actor for the comedy duo. But for me, it all hinges on the comedy side of things, because what you have to be careful of is to not have one side overpower the other. And I think that's what's happening here. That's what I feel like is happening. These actors and actresses are all fantastic, but having them all play ghosts, all of them not only with conflicting personalities, but all from different eras, it's not particularly, how do I put this? It feels very overwhelming. And that's really my only real gripe with the show. Because in all honesty, outside of that, it's bloody hilarious. I mean, they all have great characters, they all have great personalities, they all have great stories about why they died. I mean, heck, one of them plays a scoutmaster who one of his scouts accidentally shot an arrow through his neck. Like, how can you get more darkly comical than that? I find that hilarious to me. One of the other ones, he died, and he was a politician, he was an MP, and he was dying to find out what his legacy was, and he was trying to look this up on the internet when these new guys have come in and they're starting to move around the house, the husband and wife, and trying to do stuff around the house, and he can touch stuff if he focuses hard enough. So he's researching his name and his legacy online on Google, and he's only remembered for a giant sex scandal. That's literally it. Nothing else about that. And he is dumbfounded by this. He is everything a politician would have been, and sad to say in some cases still are. Very talkative, very up their own arse, very proud, and very chatty. He's funny. It's funny as hell, it really is. One of them is a Victorian era poet. Now, I don't know how he died. I think he got shot or something. That's what it appears to be anyway. He got shot, but I hope against all hope that his death was just as comical as everyone else's. But I mean, it does very much to me. There is strong drama in this. Like one of the other characters is one of the other Lady Buttons, who Charlotte Ritchie inherits the house from. Not her specifically. I think it's her daughter or her granddaughter or something like that. But she was one of the other Lady Buttons who owned the house, but she died of unfinished business, and thus she's sticking around. And how does she die? It's incredible. Like, there are funny deaths and then there are sad deaths. I'm kind of hoping that the poet's death is funny, but if it's not, I'm fine with that, because it would work so well with the other Lady Button's death. Her death is her husband pushed her out of a window because she learned a very dark secret about him having an affair. As for who he's having the affair with, I'm going to have to ask that you watch the show before you do that. And if you know who I'm talking about, it's an interesting thing to throw in there, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to sort of hear that sort of thing being said out loud on a screen. It's fun, but it's dark. It's comical. I just feel like there was a bit too much being thrown in there. And I think there was too many comedic actors being thrown in there. Because while some of their deaths are tragic, and I do get that, they are comedy. They are comedic actors. They are comedic characters. And it doesn't feel like it works as well when you're trying to struggle against a group of actors and actresses who are designed, if you will, to be comical, to be funny. It doesn't work as well, and I don't think it ever will. I do think that this show is funny in a lot of ways, and I do heartily recommend that you check it out. I do. I'm not going to sit here and go into these long diatribes about why I think shows should be made funny, but I mean, the only thing I'm really going to touch on now is another thing that doesn't irk me, but it is incredibly interesting to me, that filmmakers and musicians, for example, they have what's called a cohesive body of work. They have a motif that runs throughout their entire run, and I get that. For film and music and theatre, in a way, those I get, because you have this one-time experience that an audience sees and deals with, and then they move on, and then when they see it again happen in another show, but it's completely different, and there's that little subtle nod to other things, they go, "Ooh, look at that, isn't that lovely? That's a reference to that, and oh my god, that's great." Having it be a tribute and not just a brand copy of things, I'm looking at you, Transformers sequels, about their work, it does help to connect the audience to the artist, be they musician, be they writer, be they theatre director, be they whatever. This group, specifically, these group of people, they seem to be holding on to their historical motif. Horrible Histories is where they got their fame. I don't deny this. They may have been in stuff beforehand. In fact, I know one or two of them are, because I think I've seen them in other stuff before Horrible Histories even happened. But I am kind of amazingly aware that when they're a group, they do have the same motif flowing through things. I mean, if it was a Horrible Histories movies, like how Monty Python did this thing where they branded themselves over all of their films, and it was their films. Their TV shows was a separate entity. Monty Python's Flying Circus was their show and it ran, and no one else took over Monty Python's Flying Circus at all. The only time it was different was when John Cleese wasn't in it. And even then, there's a couple of funny bits in it, but it's not the same without him. In terms of Horrible Histories, I would have said almost the same thing to this group of actors. I would have preferred it if they'd listened to me, like I have any control over these things. If I was in charge of things, I would have said, no, you stay with Horrible Histories and then make historical movies, but using that mentality to work with it and to use it within yourselves. Because, honestly, that's how it worked for these other groups. I'm using Monty Python as the best excuse, as the best reference, because they are the ones who I felt had the biggest impact for the longest time. And I do feel like these actors from Horrible Histories do make that kind of impact. And I think it's great. I think being able to teach kids about history so much at that point in your life, especially on TV show, especially in this day and age, I should say, is an absolute phenomenon. And I think I think they should have kept doing it. I know it's probably a choice for them to all leave, and I know that they probably all did that. And I do respect that, you know, actors need to branch out and do new things. I get that. But I feel like if they were going to maintain this historical referencing that they're doing clearly in all their work, when they do it together as a group, it would have been nice if maybe Horrible Histories hadn't continued unless it was under their control. Unless it was them that was doing it and performing it every time. I think that would have made things a lot easier, and I just think it would have been a heck of a lot better. I know Horrible Histories is always improving and always bringing out new books and doing whatever, but I don't know, I guess I like a cohesive body of work from people, even if it is done with TV shows. I think it's good. I think Bill was a fantastic thing to do. I think if they'd done that, I mean, the big thing that sold it for me was, you know, from the guys that brought you Horrible Histories. It was planted right there on the DVD case. I think that was a brilliant bit of marketing. I think they should have stuck to their guns. I think they should have stayed with Horrible Histories or had it cancelled and simply say, from the guys that brought you Horrible Histories, they're now bringing you this stuff. And then kids would want to know what was going on because it would allow them to be able to carry these things across. And, you know, it wouldn't necessarily have historical accuracy, but it would still be funny enough for them to be able to go, do you remember that episode of Horrible Histories when that kind of joke was used there? Oh my god, yes, and that's that fact that came with that. Oh my god, now I know how to pass my history exam. Boom. It's not a pet peeve, it's just an opinion that I have. But please, feel free, you know, comment below. Tell me if you liked the movie or not. If you did, good on you. In fact, I know one person who did when I posted my picture up earlier saying that I was going to review this. You know, those who like it, good on you. Tell me below what you think is one of your favourite shows or films produced by these guys. Do you like the actors who came with it? Do you have a favourite episode of Horrible Histories that they were in? A favourite song of theirs that they did? All that sort of thing. Just please like, subscribe to the channel, please comment below, please do all of that stuff. Randomfish out. Camera off.